Okay, so in this video, we will use the method of linear approximation to provide a very good estimate for the cube root of 8.07 by hand. So first, let us recall the result of linear approximation, which states that the values of a function are very close to the values along its tangent line at x0, but of course only if the x values are very close to x0, the point of tangency. So there are three things that we have to choose: the function f, the value of x, and the value of x0. Well, since we want the cube root of a number, it's fairly clear that the function f of x should be the cube root of x. We of course also need the derivative of this function. Well, if you think of the cube root as a power of 1/3, applying the power rule gives us 1/3 x to the negative 2/3. And since we want the cube root of 8.07, then x must be 8.07. And now we must choose x0, the point of tangency. And this point has to satisfy two conditions. The first one, it must be close to the value of x, 8.07. And since we want to calculate this by hand, it has to be easy to find f of x0 and f prime of x0. Well, what's involved here is a cube root. And a cube root can be easily simplified if the argument is a perfect cube. Well, 8 of course is the right choice, as 8 is a perfect cube, being 2 cubed, and 8 is very close to 8.07. So we can now replace in the result of linear approximation the x value and the x0 value. So we have that f of 8.07 is approximately f of 8 plus f prime of 8 times 8.07 minus 8. We can now simplify. Well, first, f of 8.07 is the cube root of 8.07, the number that we want to estimate. So that is our objective. And now let's find the value on the tangent line. So f of 8, well, as we've said, the cube root of 8 is 2 plus, now the derivative at 8, well, we need to find 8 to the power of negative 2/3. We'll break these up into two steps. First, apply the power of 1/3 to 8. The cube root of 8 is 2. And then 2 to the negative 2 is 1 over 2 squared, 1 over 4, times 1/3 is 1 over 12. And then times, well, 8.07 minus 8 is 0.07, and as a rational number, that is 7 out of 100. We can now combine the sum of two terms into a single fraction. By putting a common denominator, this will be 1200. So 2 times 12 is 24, times 100 is 2400, but 2400 plus 7 is 2407 over, as we've just said, 12 times 100, 1200. And we're done, right? We have now a rational approximation to the cube root of 8.07. The only downside is it's hard to get an intuitive feeling for this number, as the numerator and denominator are fairly large. So we want to give a more intuitive answer in the form, of course, of a decimal answer. So we could perform long division on this fraction, but we can do far simpler if we go back to the previous expression and dividing simply 7 by 12. We do not need to drag in the 100 in our long division, as if you divide something by 100 in decimals, you're only moving the decimal place by 2 places to the left. So if we divide 7 by 12, then we'll be pretty much all set. So 7 divided by 12, we can fit 12 into 7 0 times, times 10, 70. 5 times 12 is 60, times 6 is 72. So we can only fit 12 into 70 5 times. We subtract, we have 10. Next decimal place times 10, 100. And 8 times 12 is 96. 16 plus 80. Subtract, we're left with 4. Next decimal place times 10, 40. Well, 3 times 12 is 36. We can subtract. We're left with 4. Next decimal place times 10, 40. And if you go back, we now have a 1 cycle. So 3 will repeat itself forever. And so 7 over 12 in decimals is 0.583 periodic. But what we have here is 7 over 12 divided by 100. So this will only move the decimal place by 2 places to the left. So this will give us 2 plus 0.200053 periodic. And this is now, of course, a trivial addition of 2.00583 periodic. And we now have our two approximations. As a rational approximation, the cube root of 8.07 is approximately 2,407 over 1,200. But much more intuitively in decimals, the cube root of 8.07 is approximately 2.00583 periodic. And you can use your calculator to verify that if you punch this into your calculator, that we have indeed found a very good approximation to the cube root of 8.07, where all the calculations that led us to this approximation were performed by hand. And that's it.